sometimes, the ego will cuss out the spirit. That happens.
It
However,
does.
they love each other. That's
Mm.
EVBA. They love each other.
I love it. Ava. And so I want to rewind a little bit because you did say that you started with tarot.
Yeah.
And I want to ask what encouraged you to pick up a deck of tarot? Like what was it that that calling that you had to pick up?
So I had a friend who took me to a tarot card reader. So she took me to this reader, and then the lady, very, very nice maternal, motherly grandmother woman, Hispanic lady. So anyway, she took me to her. She had her reading, I had my reading, and this lady impressed me incredibly. She was looking at these tarot cards that didn't have words on them, and they weren't people. They looked like weird vegetables, honestly. Um,
Hmm.
we would sit at the table, and she had this red cloth and a glass of water. And I asked her, Lelise, why do you always have this glass of water here? Because she would put it there right before she does the reading. And she said, that's to keep my thoughts pure. So I was like, yo, okay. So she has a glass of water. She has her cloth, and we're in the kitchen, her tablecloth. She shuffles these cards, or did she give them to me? I think at that time she might have shuffled, and then I think she switched. She would shuffle, and I would tell her when to stop, or sometimes she would have me shuffle, depending on what she felt. Either way, she spread out these cards and gave me an answer that happened to be true. Whether she
Mm.
talked about something that had occurred or something was occurring, and it got to the point where she would give me future oriented advice, or she would tell me what was going to occur, and it did. So
Mm.
I went for her for probably about a year. I told her that I wanted to do what she did, and she said, I think you can. So I went to my job where I was working part-time, somebody else I was working part-time with. I told her, I said, you know what, I think I'm gonna start reading the tarot. And she said, okay, yeah, that'd be fun. I think you should. The next week, because we saw each other once a week at this job, she came in with an unopened deck of tarot cards. She said, Tanya, I had this from years ago, never opened them. You want to read? These are for you. Well, right after she gave me that deck, which I learned and I loved, a coworker gave me a deck of cards, and then a friend gave me a deck of cards. And so I don't believe in coincidences or ironies. And so I said, okay, I'm going to learn to read the tarot, and I did. And it was after learning to read the tarot and doing a specific reading. I was working at an online psychic company. I was working as a online reader, and this person called in, asked the question. So I shuffled the cards and I put them in a spread of just three. I only learned one spread, and it was like 10 cards, and I'm lazy. I was like, this is too much. So I had three stacks. So I shuffled the cards, kept repeating her question, put the cards down, focused on the cards so that I can retrieve the information. But before I could interpret the cards, I started hearing what her answer was. I
Mm.
know that this was clairaudient. I just know I heard a voice that sounded like mine that was telling me what was going on. Then I thought, okay, what is this? What is this voice? But anyway, what's going on? Because I wanted to get her off the line, right? We only have a little limited amount of time. Anyway, I stopped looking at the cards and I just relayed to her what I heard. When I told her that, she asked me, she said, what deck are you using? And I told her. So she said, I read tarot too. What deck are you reading? I told her what deck I would read. She said, how many cards did you pull? I said, three. And she said, you got all that from three cards? I said, yeah. She said, okay. And we got off the phone. It was after that reading where I realized, listen to the voice. It knows, and it knows more. After that point, I would still use the tarot, but I started listening more to the voice and giving more information. And then it got to the point where family and friends were being awed. They would say that I have a gift. I got an easy because I felt like if I had a gift, I shouldn't need the tarot cards. It's just the way I felt. Because
Mm.
truly, I learned the cards. That's all I did. You get a deck of cards, you learn the meanings of the cards, you learn the spreads if you shall use them. Somebody asks you a question, you interpret the card. So for me, it was more so of a skill. But when people, more than one, kept saying, you have a gift, you have a gift, I had to stop reading the tarot. I had to see if I had a gift. And so
Mm.
I said, God, if I have a gift, then I don't need the tarot card. I tried with a friend of mine at the time. I called her late at night. I texted her late at night. I said, yo, I want to read you without my cards. Give me a question. She was like, okay. She gave me a question. I sat still for a minute, calmed myself, started to hear words, texted back to her. She was like, wow. Excuse me. So she was not COVID. So she was like, wow. So then from that point on, that's when I said, okay, yo, I'm gonna become confident. I had to make the commitment, not just to be confident in my ability. I had to be confident that who I was connecting with was good energy, was God.
Mm-hmm.
It was either God or the client spirit guide. It's good energy. There is one time though that I had the consciousness of mind to say out loud, as well as with my inner voice, that if you haven't come to the light, then don't come to me.
Mm.
It's light energy, there's dark energy.
Right.
Communicating with light energy, you don't see the physical form, even if it's a transition spirit that you're communicating with. Nobody sees a physical being. When there's dark energy that attacks you, again, nobody sees a physical being. Yet this dark energy is attacking you. Understand that there are people deemed psychologically damaged, and some of them have these gifts.
Mm. I don't know if that happened for you, but it paused for a minute while you were talking about that. It did skip for a
Okay,
second. So so
Oh,
yeah.
oh,
Look, so I'm over here burning this incense, bringing in all of the good light energy because it is real, and understanding and being aware of it, and understanding that you do have to protect yourself. And just even going into that, there's two things. One, how is it that you protect yourself, and for people who do have these gifts as well, how can they protect themselves? And I'll come back to the other one, but we'll stick to that one.
For me, protection comes a lot from gemstones.
Mm.
I have a lot of gemstones around me. I wear them. I have several on right now. I wear them intentionally, though. It's not a fashion statement. I sometimes will either have a lot of stones, so sometimes I have one in my bra, my navel, or in a pocket, in my purse, wallet. I'm looking at both you and me, but in my wallet. I even sage my wallet. So sometimes you got to do certain things. But that's the main thing I do. Um, I do a lot of there's the prayer where immediately I will just, especially as an empath, being energetically affected by somebody else, and it just what I call an energetic assault, when it just hits you and your mood changes. That's an alert to an empath. Wait, what? This ain't mine. Moving forward, because you got to know how to interact with that energy that is not yours, lest it controls your life. So, with that being said, the gemstones are a big part. Prayer, because I will say, God, this ain't mine. Is this mine, God? No, okay, please. And that's how I talk to the highest power. I mean, he made me, right? So I do, as far as being an empath specifically, because see, at this point, given readings and protection, the stones really do it for me, and just the consciousness of the fact that I'm giving a reading. And just like when I used the tarot cards and then stopped using the tarot cards, there was a lot of insecurity because I had to learn to trust what I was relaying. And sometimes that voice that sounds a lot like our own voice, that is negative, that tries to stop us from being our excellent self, right? Will say something like, oh, that's wrong. Don't say that because that's wrong. I'll just say it anyway. And they'd be like, oh my God, how you know that? So because I understand that voice still exists to this day, but it's not as loud, right? And it's, of course, not as powerful. I hear the voice. I could be doing a reading tomorrow with somebody I have great energy connection with, or a new client, just very open, very confident in what I'm saying. I promise you, I can hear the voice low, but it may say something like, that's not going to be right. Get the hell out of here. Anyway, girl, so you probably want to do this. And if you don't do that, this is going to happen. I'm just telling you, let's fix it. You see what I'm saying? So the voice, and that's a big part of healing, spiritual awakening, personal transformation, living authentically or as your authentic self, has a lot to do. The foundation is self-awareness, and that insecure energy that may come from inner child rearing or non-rearing.
Mm,
When we don't heal,
right.
the damaged part takes over. When we don't heal, the damaged part takes over. Healing recoups power lost. So we return to our empowered, powerful selves. But if we interact with or become damaged, we become weakened. And that's that bitter person in the corner, age 42. That bitter person in the corner, age 88. That bitter person in the corner, age 21. Right. So I'm all just a cheerleader for healing. And with the protection stuff, I just want to go back to that. Like with the readings, I don't even really seek protection because I feel that I already am. It's more so with being an empath, because I also use, some people are empaths and they just live as empaths and don't really know the empath. Some people are empaths and they're learning to live consciously. So they have their tools of protection. You know, they know thyself. They have a great deal of self-awareness. They have a great deal of self-understanding, because you need those things as an empath. However, I use my ability as an empath to do readings, like to do relationships readings. Like I gotta sit still and feel what Chrissy is feeling in regards to this relationship. Then I gotta sit still and feel what the partner, Chrissy's partner, is feeling in this relationship. And then I gotta bring it together. So I use my ability as an empath often. And any muscle that you use gets stronger, right? So
True.
that being said, it's being the empath and the empath part of me that needs the most protection. Again, I use the stones. My tools of protection include isolation. Sometimes I'm just alone. Sometimes I'm listening to certain music or sounds. I like binaural beats. Sometimes I like to play games on my phone because I can disconnect from certain situations. And even after a reading, to disconnect from a reading, I might play games on my phone. I might just get on YouTube and just listen to some crazy person, because it takes me out of that energy and out of the element. But in regards to the protection part, just going back to that quickly, I already feel protected. It's just as an empath, sometimes I still get affected because I haven't fully protected myself from that energetic assault. Did that answer your question? Because you know I'll be babbling.
No, that's it. And it's answered more in a sense of, if we have people who are listening who are working to develop their gifts and they want to know how to protect themselves. Yet even if we have a person who wants to live it as a conscious empath, they'll know how to protect themselves as well. And so I think it gives a broad perspective of really how you can care for yourself, care for your spirit, you know, and not just your temple, but the spirit as well. And so I think all of that covered that. And one of the things that I do want to share is that there are a lot of people who are sharing tarot readings now, who are hearing that voice and who are, you know, they're working to strengthen it. One of the things that you said too that I believe is just big is really starting to trust yourself and trust your gift, and knowing that the insecurity can still linger, but you can move past it. And I think that's what a lot of people, self included, sometimes get stuck on, which is like, wait, it's there, but I can continue to move forward. I don't have to get stuck here on the other side of it. And
Exactly.
so yeah, and so I think that's major. And yeah, thank you. This is so awesome. And so with that, I just wanted to of course I have another question, which is for your actually we're gonna come back. We're gonna come back. What is healing? And actually you've told us a little bit about what you do with soul to soul conversations. But what does healing mean for you?
Um, in a sense of returning to wholeness.
You did mention recouping power, right?
It keeps power lost. So in a sense, I feel like healing returns one to its wholeness, to its completeness. And we're always going to have to heal. It's a matter of embarking on a healing journey, and during the healing process, and I only see it as 4 steps, but during the healing process, recouping power lost, and then moving on. A healed heart makes different decisions. So there's that part of it. So
Hey, that.
T-shirt.
Right.
With that being said, once you've healed, because some people will tell me, oh, I'm healed and I've already been to therapy. But you don't act like it. You see, a healed heart makes different decisions. So if you've healed from anything, whether it was situations with your parents, romantic, your own self, whatever, once you heal, you will exude different energy. You have to, because the energy that was damaged is gone. So you can't come to me, a bitter, angry person, and say, Tanya, I already healed from that. What are you talking about? Are you sure?
with the wink, right? I love it. I love it. So for those, I'm sorry, were you gonna continue?
No, I was just saying with the wink. I don't know if both eyes closed or just one.
Just one close this time. So and for those who are on this healing journey, which as we've come to social media, we know that it's not linear. It's one that continues to go and happen in different ways. I believe I read somewhere like the mind, the consciousness doesn't allow us to see certain things until we're ready. And so certain things are opening up. Yeah, right. It's opening up as we're ready. And then in our mind, or maybe somewhere within our ego is like, no, I can't do that. And spirit's like, but you're ready. And so having a person like yourself with gifts and who is pretty much a guide and assisting folks with their soul's purpose, and they want a reading, what would you suggest as far as readings? And please share the types of readings that you give too, because there's this monthly forward, what is it called, power forward, that she has, y'all, that I did a few years ago, that when I tell you, hit the hammer on the head, the nail on the head, it was great because it allowed me to write, and then it allowed spirit to respond in form of Tanya. And so please share the types of readings that you share. But for a person who is like, well, I know there's some answers that I could possibly receive that can assist me in this journey, and I'm trusting you to relay those. What kind of questions should I ask, or how should I ask those questions?
So, because I'm thinking about what you're saying. No.
Okay.
So, firstly, we must understand that not all intuitives, not all psychics are alike. I know who I am. I know how I read. I know my intentions and my motivations. And I will never tell a person, I will only relay the truth of what I see, feel, hear, and know. So I don't stroke egos. I embrace spirit. So I go in deep because I'm supposed to. In regards to having readings with me, if it was just a totally new client, I would say if there's someone who is at a crossroads, who feel like life isn't, well, more so, these are some of the symptoms of a spiritual awakening. And such as this, when you start to feel uncomfortable in your own skin, when you start to look at certain relationships that you once treasured and either question them or just to like look at them with like, less emotion or passion, even practices and hobbies that you used to partake in that may not satisfy you anymore. Looking into self and saying, what am I here for? I feel like I should be doing more. This successful career that I have is not where my success lies. These are questions and curiosities of someone who's enduring, I feel, a spiritual awakening. And for me, because I just am basic, I understand a spiritual awakening to be the moment that when the spirit awakens to the ego, awakens to the life the ego has created. So that's why the spirit awakens to the life the ego has created. That's why you look at your relationships differently. Because your spirit is like, why are you with this person? Your ego back in the day, I loves me some
right. And now
your spirit is like, why do you find joy in doing this hobby? You know, where your ego is like, you know what? So maybe don't even have validation, but just because. So I feel like spiritual awakening is when your spirit awakens to the life the ego has created. And so of course there's going to be some issues because if the ego created a horror show for a life and the spirit awakens, it's like, yo, we got to do a lot of changes. Now, even after spiritual awakening, we aren't intended to live unhappily. There's no, you don't have to suffer. You just need to understand and become better aware. For somebody who's embarking on or feel that they're about to endure a spiritual awakening, I would suggest the spiritual reading or the spiritual reading via email. That's a reading that I do pretty much like 2,500 words. Was 1,700 usually 1,700 to 1,700 to 2,500 words where I'm telling the client about their life, all four major areas: self, love and relationships, career/work, and then income and finances. And from that, I go deep. They only ask questions after I've delivered the reading, the email reading, unless we have a phone call about it. Then they ask questions and then we move forward. For somebody now, that's my best sort of client because I want my sole purpose is to assist in the healing of others. So I want the client who wants healing, who's confused about healing. I want the client who's enduring a spiritual awakening. I want the client who feels they have these intuitive gifts and wants to develop them. Discover, even if they have an inkling and they want to discover, let's talk about it. Want to develop. Like, so that's the people I embrace more so. I know people are going to take me wrong, probably. I don't care. Anyway, that's what feeds me. Then there are the clients who may just have specific questions. They don't want to get that deep. I have like the hour reading on the phone or the half hour reading. I also do email readings. So they can get 3 questions, which is a quick read, 3 questions on one topic, just so we can get the meat out of that subject matter. Or there's 6 questions on any topic. So that's a comprehensive email reading. But then I also do relationship readings that focus on romantic relationships, professional relationships. I recently added another, well, it's a 5-week business coaching program. We'll talk about that. But again, as far as a new client coming to me, they might want to do the relationship reading. If they're in an intimate relationship, maybe much more a serious one where they want to see if we should let this go or if we should fight. I do mommy and me readings, of course, where I focus on new energy, like from birth. Well, I really like to go from 9 months to 5 years, that age bracket. Do an email reading just to enlighten the parent or guardian on the energy of this new life and how they should nurture, and support, encourage, and guide this new life. I do so many different types of reading. I do past life readings. I do past forward readings, which basically are intended to go back into a person's life experience, and their current life experience, to find the trauma or traumas that has them stuck and present that to life so that I can focus on that. So that's the past forward, because I'm trying to go back to your past to help you move forward.
Yes.
So, and the types of readings that I have and the numerous readings that I have is because I meditated and prayed and I'm intuitive. Okay, great. But what else? I asked God, I said, how can I fragment this gift so that I can be of value, of help to many more people? Hence, mommy and me reading, relationship reading, past forward reading, spiritual reading by email, or not, even intuitive guidance, which is psychic spiritual counseling, right?
Yes.
That's kind of like the power forward, which you were a part of, monthly healing program, because we're going to write. We're going to talk, but we're going to write. Writing is therapeutic.
It
So,
is.
oh my God, I have so many readings that are for children, like the mommy and me, or bridging the gap, which is like for ages 6 to 16. Then we have the relationship reading, like I mentioned, and the spiritual reading. So, they're all on my website. Yet I just a reminder that I always relay the truth of what I see, feel, hear, and know. And I'm not responsible for anybody's breakdown. Ever.
She said ever. So come ready. Come ready. And I believe that's usually what happens when I have the rebirth goddess circle. I usually tell, or I say, everyone who is supposed to be here is here, and everyone who shows up is ready. And that's when you really see the magic happen, when people are starting to choose themselves, and they are, I want to say, relentless, unapologetic about it, in a sense of making sure that they're on time, making sure that they're creating rituals to honor themselves. And so with that, I wanted to know, what mantra or saying is it that you have for yourself to keep your vibes up, to keep your energy up? What's your go-to mantra?
Probably be you ain't dead yet. So,
Bam.
So a lot can be accomplished if you're still breathing. I mean, after we transition again, we're enlightened spiritual energy empowered by physicality. So when I keep remembering that and understand, I've become not who I started out as. Okay. So I've become. And so with that being said, I ain't dead yet.
That's right. I love it.
By physicality. And as the type, being a Pisces and I love victories. I love to see somebody overcome. And so a lot of times, even unwinding, or sometimes spirit will just hit me and say, look at this. And then I'll be on YouTube and I'll pop, some kind story. Somebody did somebody with one leg doing this, that, or the other. Oh my God. Again, I ain't dead yet. It's to be done and a lot to do.
That's right.
So, of course I get bombarded and overwhelmed, and there's the depressed energy that occurs, and then the frustrated. I'm human. It happens. I've learned, though, as I endured the healing process, and as I became spiritually reconnected to higher power, well, first of all, nothing don't last forever. And secondly, feel it, acknowledge it, feel it, move forward. As a Pisces, I get stuck in that feeling place. And just right quickly, one of my soulmates, I realized, is a relative of mine. She's a cousin. I lived with her for about three or 4 years, and she's a Leo. And as a Leo, she's rational and logical. And while living with her, I learned to be more rational and logical. So when we talk about soulmates and people thinking, oh, the love of my life, well, only if they are there for one of three reasons. My cousin, that relative, my cousin, was there for karmic purposes, because she helped me, not only gave me a safe place to develop my gifts, and she also unconsciously influenced me to be a little more logical and rational. And even in that regard, I become more confident. Because anytime you remain in an emotional place, you kind of weaken yourself. You're not allowing the energies to go to your mind and have you rationalize and assess and analyze and deduce. You're too busy feeling and worrying. All the energy is down here. That's okay. I ain't got time.
All of the water.
I'm about to be full.
And yeah, I'm a Pisces too. I guess I should, as if you're not watching this and you're listening to it, I'm over here cheesing hard because she over here talking about me low key. But no, it's it is, you can get into that water and just be floating with it, and it'll take you from wall to wall if you allow, and you wind up literally beaten up, and you really don't have a lot to give to yourself, and lessons have been learned from that shit right there. Not more.
Been there, done that. Gotta teach it.
Look, right. And so staying grounded is major, for myself, as far as showing love to myself. But I do want to switch up the last question, because I did want to say, how do you show love for yourself? And I have a inkling of how that is so, but more than anything, How are you celebrating your wins, Miss Director, Producer? How are you celebrating your wins?
And that's funny because I haven't like officially really celebrated wins, even including those of the intuitive kind. Just being on this journey, like 29 years ago, I set out, to spiritually awaken. Didn't know what I was doing, but hey, I like the term, right? I developed my intuitive self, and I had to heal from some emotional stuff, in order to be able to give the readings very unbiased in a very true and genuine sort of way. I had to do work on myself. So there was preparation. That's why I tell you when people say, oh, empaths are healers. No, not necessarily.
You're right.
So I do need to celebrate those wins. I am very excited over the growth that I've acquired, um, both sides of me, my spiritual self, and as well as my ego, the healing that my ego has achieved, the transformation. Because as they say, the old Tanya would have did this, that, the other, but the new Tanya, and not necessarily the new Tanya, it's the healed.
Mm.
Not new, not new. Because anything new becomes old. So the healed Tanya, right? So I haven't, and you just made me feel like I should. Like I need to just
You
go.
most definitely should. And so really quickly, because I think I shared this with you via text, but my intuition, the more that I'm sitting and I'm praying and I'm being quiet, something told me to ask you that.
Oh, thank
Yeah,
you.
and so I listened. And again, as you said, it's like a muscle. The more you listen to it, the stronger it gets. And so I think I have ideas of how you, as I said, how you love on yourself, but I do know for myself, being in the work, at times it's really hard to pause and be like, yeah, because you move forward, you're continuing to power forward. And they someone told me to stop and smell the flowers. And so with that, you get to pause and be like, wait, thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Thank you.
Sometimes we just need to be reminded of our own excellence. Sometimes we just need to be reminded of didn't wait. I mean, sometimes I'll have to do a reading with the client and they wanna be weak and they wanna feel helpless and they wanna wallow in depressed energy. And then I'm an empath and I can feel the power of their spirit. So I'm like, well, you can do this by yourself. I get off the phone, call me later, and we'll talk. Because the truth is, your spirit is a fighter. Your
Mm.
spirit doesn't give up. So when you, in ego, damaged ego form, says, oh, I can't go on, I'm like, I don't really know that that's true because let's be conscious with it. You've been through this, overcame, been through this, overcame, been through this, okay. Sometimes we need to be reminded of our own excellence. Sometimes our past needs to be brought into our faces and we need to be pimp slapped with it. And I'm not talking about the negative past. I'm talking about the past of overcoming this, passing this, achieving this, acquiring this. With other people, we're so quick to compliment, offer accolades. But to ourselves, silence, crickets. So
Yeah.
thank you for asking me that. I'm gonna go get a bottle of tequila and a straw to say Friday.
Hey.
So, I'm gonna do that, and then I'm gonna figure out what I really need to do for my the directing, writing part of me, but then also for the intuitive, because I've come a long way, babe. Like that was on the cigarette. You remember that?
Yeah.
Because my sisters used to smoke them.
Uh-huh. I've come a long way, babe. I love it. So as you speak on directing and writing, what's up next for you?
So we're finishing. Well, we're doing a couple of things because we have to finish our pitch deck so that we can get the funding for our feature that is Raid, a COVID-19 comedy. However, we're also in a post-production with our supernatural drama called Keepsake, which is a short. That's being colored. Chad is coloring it. And then we've also just this morning actually started talking about a project we had originally created. It was Chad's idea back in I think 2013, 2014. but it's called Dreams, and it's really about, it's a short, and it's about, you know, two people who move to the Bay, to move to Inglewood, and go to this new dispensary and try out these two new strains of weed. But this is before, because when I wrote it, it was before everything was legal.
Oh, okay.
It's really it's an idea we came up with a while ago, where it's really a play on the Twilight Zone, and it's going to be called the Smoker Zone. And so
Okay.
every week or every episode, somebody a la the guy from the Twilight Zone is going to introduce the story, and then it's going to go into a bad experience or whatever, a memorable weed experience. But that's something we are actually pulling out the vault because we feel like it's time. We're also working on a short that we created that pays homage to Mr. George Floyd Jr. Called $20. We have had to put that on the back burner, but we're bringing it back to the forefront because we have to. So it's a lot because I'm the writer director, and he's like Jamaican, but he is like Jamaican in the sense that he's the editor, executive producer, security, craft service. Okay, not really.
You so silly.
But
I'm mad. I said you were the producer. I retract that. Chad is the
yeah,
producer.
I'm a producer. Like, we both
Okay.
produce our
Okay.
projects, and we both EP executive or executive producers. Yet, because I'm the writer director,
Mm-hmm.
also assist me with some of the technical part of directing. But then, you know, my other half, who is a soulmate of mine, does all the editing, cinematography. He's become a colorist. He's a filmmaker, and so that's you know, again, like, oh my God, when you heal and you reach
Mm-hmm.
wholeness, and becoming healed is includes becoming self-aware. So when you become self-aware and return to whole, oh, you become a powerful mofo. You feel me? Because you know
Yeah.
yourself and you know what you can do. And he knows himself and he knows what he can do. So his inspiration, motivation, and support of myself, yay, I'm happy.
Right?
But he got that inside himself. And like when I met him, he said, I'm a filmmaker. I'm like, you know what? You are. You see, when somebody tell you I'm healed, I don't see it. Right? When somebody say I'm healed, you are. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what's next for that. In regards to the intuitive part of me, just trying to grow the business. I have the YouTube channel I just started, so everybody who watches this should just go like, comment, and subscribe. But they don't even have to like it, but just like, comment, and subscribe. It's called Soul to Soul Conversations TV.
That's a
SOUL.
number two. Are you
Mhm.
about to spell it?
And then SOUL Conversations hyphen TV. But even just putting Soul to Soul Conversations in there should pull it up. They're gonna see my face. Oh my God. In front of the camera. Chad's a filmmaker, so I had to get propped up and glistening and lights and oh my God. But still, I had a fun time. And I plan to put more videos up there. And I wanna, once I get enough subscribers, I wanna go live. I wanna
Mm-hmm.
do free readings. You come on there and say, I'm hosting this evening session of blah blah blah, and you just and I'm just there to do the readings because that's what I love doing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so that's what, you know, soul to soul conversations.com is the website. Soul to Soul Conversations TV is the YouTube channel. And IG, Miss MS Soul Speaker, SOULSPEAKER. Now, Twitter, I don't be on, but hey, follow me. Maybe I'll start getting on it. That's
Okay.
Tanya, Soul to Soul Convos, CONVOS. And then Facebook is Soul to Soul Conversations.
Okay. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, I want to thank you for joining me today for the Cusp of Rebirth. I believe people are going to be able to take so much from this conversation and allow it to assist them in their healing journey, their rebirth, right? And so I think it's something that's crucial that we continue to remember that we're continuously having these rebirths, and we're continuously healing and letting go of things that no longer serve us. And so thank you for showing up today.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me. Bye.
Until next time, ciao ciao. I'm gonna stop the recording
Because we added it in.